Hello, everybody. Welcome back to more of AWS Security Live, special edition, streaming from the London Partner Summit here. I'm Ryan Orsi, one of your co-hosts for the day, and I lead a team of go-to-market specialists focused on partners and security. Also AI, because who wouldn't be focusing on AI nowadays? It's a very exciting day today. We are packed with great guests. But before we get to a guest introduction, let's do another co-host introduction here.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Excited to be here. This is live from London Partner Summit. My name is Himanshu. I lead the team of our worldwide security specialists. We help customers with their security outcomes using AWS Security services, and more importantly, our partners and their services as well. And speaking of partners, we do have an esteemed partner here from Orca.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm Roee from Orca Security. I'm a field CTO there. And I've started actually as a developer back in the days.
Right on. So you know what it's like.
I know what it's like. I felt the pains. But I was actually placed in the first place in like IT infrastructure team, and then got into security and networking, etc. And basically, 10 years later, I ended up in leading a security team of security architects in Telefonica in Germany, which is where I met Avi Shua and Gil Garon, who were the founders of Orca Security. And both of them came out of Checkpoint with a very big frustration. They basically came out and said, well, all of the world of vulnerability management back in the days was quite broken in the cloud. Right? You have to deploy agents, you have to open up ports, you have to do various things in order to make things work. And they came up with an idea which said, why do all that? Why don't we just take a snapshot of what's in the cloud, scan it offline, great visibility, no deployments, just need a good IAM role in AWS, and you can get visibility. So it started off of like vulnerability management, but then basically they said, well, we can do everything else around it. Why don't we pull AWS APIs, get everything around configurations, then can add compliance to it, malware detection. And all of those things basically came up being what we know today as CNAPPs. So Orca was actually the first CNAPP, if you think about it. And basically built that whole layer, including application security to begin with. So basically that product started with a very small visibility point of view, which expanded to a full-blown CNAPP solution. So this is my first into Orca.
That's a great journey. That's a great journey, Roee. Awesome. We also neglected to, maybe we neglected to tell you during the prep call about the swear jar. And Himanshu, you want to make the judgment call? CNAPP. Does it count? Does it count?
I think it's still around. I mean, for our customers and viewers, we should do the justice of having Roee do the honors of telling our audience.
You're buying us a pint. I'll take a Guinness tonight if you want to drop a coin in, sir.
CNAPP. Cloud native application protection platform.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I have one in the back, and I was planning on it, but I forgot about CNAPP.
My understanding and validated, Roee, is this started in during the cloud journey, where customers were having multiple different detection tools, as you said, vulnerabilities. There was threats, there were misconfigurations. And we wanted to bring it all together for our customers to get that context and provide that relationship between these different findings. And that's where that cloud-native application protection came along. If I remember, I think the first thing I remember Orca doing was what was agentless security, which was essentially, to your point, take away all the operational burden, take away all the deployments, take away all the installs. And that's how, I think Orca started off their agentless journey.
There's always an endpoint that doesn't have an agent. There's always missed visibility.
Yeah. Indeed.
So how's that journey going? I think you walked us through, gave us a very in-depth view of the cloud security journey. Where is that now, moving towards as we go into the AI, artificial intelligence or AI security journey?
Okay, so, there are 2 points to it. So I think one to start with maybe, which is quite generic, and whenever we talk about securing our applications, it's oftentimes somehow mistreated, and people tend to focus on okay, I have a prompt, I have an inference point, and this is where we should focus on runtime. But it's sort of repeating the same mistake of doing let's have an agent deployed on a machine to actually protect it, when there's a lot of stuff that happens a lot before that we actually want to look at. And when we think of there's the AWS framework around, which talks about okay, if you want to protect AI application, let's start from infrastructure, the model obviously, and the applications around it, and which I'd like to dig deeper into it in a bit. But before that, I've been to quite a few AWS events around AI security, and basically what all the experts talk about from the AWS side and also across the industry is basically saying AI applications are just another application. It has specific attributes that you want to take care of and focus on, but you still need to look at it as a whole application, end-to-end, starting from development, ending with deployment and runtime. So if we think about that piece, then we want to be able to say, okay, what are the stages that we want to focus on, which are not just the runtime.
Right.
It's great, it's really important, it's visible,
Right.
but we actually want to start a lot earlier, which is where people code. So in the coding space, we want to say, okay, using different libraries that might be vulnerable, machine learning frameworks, secrets that might be embedded in a piece of code that is then deployed in the runtime, and then someone can get it out.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, I mean,
That's such a pain.
you definitely bring up a very interesting point, and I think I do agree that there is a lot of confusion in the industry where when we talk about application development versus AI native application development, right? There's like nuances on that, and you used the term runtime earlier, right? So tell us more about what is your view on runtime security between like a SaaS application or software as a service application built in the cloud versus an AI native application?
So if you think of the SaaS applications that most people or most companies use, corporates or maybe in personal life, you usually have the trained model that you're interacting with, or a trained model that has access to your enterprise data, and that's approximately where it ends. And when you have your own deployed applications or develop AI applications, you would have multiple layers around it, right? There's potentially what type of model you want to use. How do you train it? Do you get it pre-trained, or is it only like a big sort of naked model, and you add a lot of your data and training to it? And that also impacts how you want to secure that application, right? So if you trained it with your data, now you want to be able to protect what you'd call the weights. So all this stuff that is addition to that, you want to be able to make sure that you know where your weights are, how they're protected, what access that has applications and users and roles in the organization have to it, so that you can actually secure it better. When you get down to the runtime piece, of course, you want to have the guardrails, you want to have the world of input-output filters, same as you have like in Bedrock, for example, and you want to be able to secure that using all of those things, but not forget everything that came before it, the training, all those things. Yeah,
makes sense.
Let's go. So Roee, field CTO. Yeah. You talk to a lot of people. You present a lot of sessions. I've seen you speak. You've got some great thought leadership content that you've developed yourself. What are some major confusion points you see out there? Right? I personally have a couple that have been kind of brewing around in my mind. With more conversations you have, you start to realize, I think one you highlighted was that an AI application is another application. The data set it's connected to is massively larger than normal. It's interacting with other agents that also have massively larger than normal data sets, but data security, data privacy, data protection principles still apply. What other confusion points do you see out there that you could help clarify?
I mean, one big one which is on the side to it is a lot of times saying, do I secure AI applications or do I use AI to secure applications? Which is a funny thing, but oftentimes when people approach us and they're like, hey, we want to talk about AI security, and I start talking about securing AI, having the end-to-end visibility from development down to deployment, your data, everything around it, having compliance and visibility. And then it's like, no. What AI capabilities do you have in the product? It's like, well, yeah, we have those too, and we use them to secure your product. So we have the agentic capabilities, and we use AI in various places to actually improve detections and those sort of things. But it's not just that bit, right? You want to be able to understand your AI security landscape or your AI landscape and assets and how they connect it. And you also want to be able to use AI to be fast enough to improve detections, improve responses, automations around it, of course, and so on.
Speaking of using AI, I think that's one of the biggest areas that customers have been sort of like excited and wanting to see more innovation, is that where, to your point, cloud-native applications or cloud-native application protection platforms, CNAPPs, were very good at surfacing where the security teams need to go take actions on. But once those surfaces or once those findings are there, somebody has to go and really take an action on. Yeah. So is that an area where AI can help automate? And what is Orca doing there?
Okay, so there's quite a lot there. So maybe step before that is when we talk about identifying everything or understanding the full cloud state in your environment, is once you have the full visibility using a CNAPP of that sort, adding that additional layer of saying, those are my AI assets, is rather easy, right? So if you have a good deployment in your environment, doesn't matter if it's Orca or not, that's a good start, right? If you're using AWS native tools, you'll be able to get a lot of information around it of where your AI-related assets are, right? So that's I think the first step. The next bit around it. Sorry, I lost
taking the action, right?
Taking the action,
yeah.
right.
So I think you mentioned using AI to create some
Yes.
context so that you know that these are AI applications.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we or one could use in their environment. They're basically either the built-in capabilities or actually using what we do in Orca is use some AI capabilities to actually tag the pieces of information across your cloud estate, understanding to help you understand what those things are, and then also help with the use of AI agent and doing a deeper investigation into understanding what should I be fixing, how should I go on and improve my security posture in the cloud and also of my AI applications.
Right.
Being the kind of the same nature. In a way.
Right. Is automated remediation a thing now? Like, I think, when we actually talk to customers, like, you probably know this more than anybody else. Like, nobody likes to go and change things in their production environments.
Database offline.
Yeah, exactly. Or, it's called continuous development and continuous integrated life cycles. Yeah. So how do you make sure that automated remediation is actually automated?
Yeah. So I've been luckily to my joy in that sense. I've been involved in a lot of the agentic capabilities development in Orca, and previously in Opus. I didn't mention it. Orca basically acquired Opus, which was a UVM with agentic capabilities, and this is what we're rebuilding, or we started already a while ago. Sorry. Oh. Should I do this? I'm sorry. Yes.
Two pints on Roee.
Unified vulnerability management.
Wow.
A type of solution that taps into whatever security controls that you have in the organization, makes senses out of them, hopefully, and helps you with the remediation understanding of the entire workflow you have in your organization. And I think, most organizations probably need it if they have a multitude of tools.
So Opus brought in the unified vulnerability management into the Orca portfolio.
And with that use case, are people okay with auto remediation?
Exactly. So the auto remediation piece. Opus started off with automated remediation. Nobody used it. I'm talking about like five years ago.
Sure.
And then rolling the time to now, it keeps on coming back when customers ask us about this. Like, so Orca had auto remediation a while ago for cloud misconfigurations, talking about also 5-6 years ago. People don't use it because they are afraid of the consequences.
Right.
And when we talk about it now, somehow, even though agentic capabilities are not deterministic, people have a bit more faith in doing auto remediation, which is I find funny.
And you know what I find it to be? It's that the remediation is presented in a language and a vocabulary that's more relatable.
That's probable. Very probable.
That's my own theory. Yeah. Let's see how it goes, folks.
Possible. Actually, I didn't think about it, to be honest. It's pretty cool. And what we do now, actually, with automated remediation is basically saying, hey, those are the suggestions. If it's a code-based type of a change, go create a pull request automatically. And there's still a human in the loop, so there's a lower chance of impact to production environments and those sort of things. But you can also use AI to actually pre-test certain things and say, okay, here's a change. Why don't you spin off an environment, test it in the side, and then make sure that it's running. Not saying that we are there yet, but this is a good use case to say how can we auto remediate and say, okay, we've done this auto remediation, but now we don't see any impact on that sandbox environment. That's great. Let's go ahead with it. So that might be a way to.
This is something we should if there was an ability to do a live poll on the session.
I would love to know.
I would love to know
who is down
exactly how our users are now reacting or accepting the fact that we can do auto remediations.
It's such a time saver if you've got the confidence, if you're going to a sandbox and remediating and watching everything as it happens.
Yeah, and Roee used that term like sandboxing or containing. And if you can simulate that in a sandbox environment before you do it in the production environment, I think customers might be more receptive to that.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I've been to a session, another AWS good event I was with various customers. It was pretty cool because we were talking about like how do we see the future of AI versus AI in the like bad versus good type of world. And in there, that like the discussion was okay, AI-based attacks are infinitely faster. Like it's hard to detect movement in those cases and so on. Why don't we use the same type of capabilities in the other side, on the defense side of things?
Where the speed and rate of change of an attack is also an indicator that it is an attack.
And maybe respond to it at the same time, which is this like a bit of difficult or risky side of auto remediation in a way, right?
Sure.
But we're talking about live attacks, and there's a phrase we keep on talking about within Orca, which is what we would call, like, if you look at the vision of this space, will be the self-healing fabric, right? So we will be able to detect changes, understand the risks around them, and do the remediation as it goes, and improve the security posture on a constant basis to make sure we are protected against attacks. So I think
self-healing fabric looks like a combination of learning and data and context, right?
Correct.
So you're constantly learning from the customer's environment.
Correct.
Okay.
I like the vision there, Roy.
It's pretty neat.
That's a great vision.
Not mine, but it's pretty neat. It's company-wise.
So it's going to ship on what date? We're going to release some Orca Security.
I can't necessarily say, but I mean, yeah, we have released a few already, like agentic capabilities around auto remediation, and that's I think where it starts. And my hope is that with time, customers will gain more and more trust in those capabilities to allow auto remediation being more like autonomous, and that's where we want to go if we trust it, right?
Autonomous, yeah. I think there has been talk about there's a lot of foundational models or, to your point, large language models that are focused on improving productivity or doing AI activities of text to image or human readable language prompts, etc. But is the security industry eagerly waiting for this security large language model that incorporates the data fabric?
I think it does.
Okay.
I think it would be great. And I mean, we start seeing those things, right, with Anthropic.
Yes.
We'll get there. I mean, and hopefully we'll stay on the good side of people.
I like the topic, guys. Like the AI for good, AI for bad. Right, and if there's one thing about the attackers is they're very innovative, if you will, right? They figure out how to morph their attacks faster and faster, but that also means that the others on the proactive defense side, like Orca Security, you also can be watching exactly how these things are unfolding and developing the antidote, if you will, right? So. Yeah. What other antidotes are you all developing there at Orca Security? You want to break any product roadmap on Security Live? It's just us. It's just the three of us. There's no one else.
So, I mean, we obviously have a lot of data, and Orca's one of the unique things we keep talking about, you keep mentioning, is like the unified data model, like having the telemetry around the entire cloud estate from AWS, and then being able to respond to it. And so what we are building is, apart from some of the agents that we launched and some that we are working on, are basically going to be able to, on a regular basis, look into changes, talking about threat hunting in your environments, understand, within minutes, understand if there is a new IRC out there, where do we have risks in the environment? Or if you want to maybe be able to host your own type of an agent. You have a unique use case as an enterprise, and you don't want necessarily to expose it. And maybe Orca didn't think about it because you have specifics in your organization that you want to use. You'll be able to just inject that type of a, say, prompt and space into Orca. So Orca will now host your agentic capabilities, interacting with your integrations that you have in Orca and accessing your AWS environment, because it already has the roles and things to actually have the right visibility into the cloud estate. And now you have something which is like your own automation agent from a security standpoint running within a cloud platform. So that's
that's clever.
Right.
The security layer, right, with the agents as well.
Yeah, because I mean, I've seen customers doing it today, right?
Yeah.
They go and build up certain things using external tools. It's like, why? Because you have everything there. Why not use it? So if we think of like key takeaways from this, I think is like AI applications are still AI applications. Look at the entire life cycle end to end and take the specifics around, AI applications and where you need to protect them, in addition to your generic security lifecycle that you already had in your organization, hopefully.
Well said, Roy from Orca Security. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank
it's good
you
to
so
have
much.
you on the show. And
Thank
folks,
you
we'll be
very
right back with more Security Live. Don't go
Thank
anywhere.
you.
Thank you.